of 52, poor fellow, for a very rare brain problem. But 2 or 3 things that he just dropped as great guru killi, or as pearls of wisdom, is one of the things that she said was, there's only one sun in the sky. And that was enough to teach you everything about photography. That means whenever you are trying to light a product or light a subject or light a person, remember that your source of light has to be one. You can use many lights, but you have only one sun. You can produce, you have to kill the other shadows, you can use other lights, but there should be a unidirectional source of light. It could be from the top, it could be from the side, unless it's an effect lighting, where there are several lights, like in the evening or in a fair, where there are several. But if you are trying to simulate a natural picture, you must be able to create that sunlight in your studio. So unless and until you create that sunlight in your studio, you're not a photographer. So therefore, one sun in the sky. The other thing was, of course, create sunlight in the studio, then you become a photographer. What is the other thing? What is the question that you asked?
Expressions.
And he said that technique is only 40% of a photograph. And if you get your technique right, it's really like speaking, if you know your English well, if you know any of the languages you speak, however hard you try, you can't speak it wrongly. So it's like, 2 plus 2 is going to be 4. 2 plus 2 is never going to be 22 or 5. So if you get your basics right, I don't really think that you can go wrong. So similarly, photography also has a few basics. They may or may not be dramatic. You may not be able to twist it to have a great effect. But you all have to know the major rules and grammar of photography. So if you get that, then I think you've got the 40%. And the remaining 60% is left for you to actually experiment with colors, with textures, with angles, with all sorts of things where you've got the freedom. But if you know that you're going to be able to say it correctly, and the picture is not only meant for you and your blind grandmother, I mean, it's not just meant to be stuck on a wall, but to be enjoyed by all, then I think technique is not more than 40%. But if you've got the technique, then the rest of it is quite easy.
थँक्यू सर. याच्याच बाबतीत एक आणखी थोडंसं वेगळं विचारते मात्र. तुम्हाला मनापासून लेखन करायला आवडत होतं, पण त्याच वेळेला शोभा डे आणि शबाना आझमी यांनी तुम्हाला फोटो जर्नलिझम बद्दल मुद्दामून काहीतरी प्रेरणा दिलेली होती. ते काय घडलं होतं नेमकं?
No, I was in Lintas. I had no real choice, and I wanted to write. And Shobha Day, you might have heard her name. She's my cousin, and she said, "Look, why don't you do in your spare time some stories on people that are not within our sphere? So therefore, why don't you do something on photographers? Why don't you do something on models?" And that is how I started doing work for society and celebrity and things like that. And then, of course, actually all that I really wanted to do, which is to write. So I wrote, and I used to photograph during the weekends. So on the weekends, it was very difficult for me to get a photographer to come and accompany me. So she said, "Why don't you take your camera, you shoot the pictures, and you also do the interviews." So 2 birds with 1 stone kind of thing. That's how I went. And very soon I just discovered they didn't want my writing, they only wanted my photographs. So therefore my photography started running at a faster pace, but I caught up with writing later.
आतापर्यंत तुम्ही जवळजवळ म्हणते मी, त्याच्याविषयी जास्त असेल, 4,500 छायाचित्र तुम्ही काढलेली आहेत.
4,500 छायाचित्र नाही, 4,500 लोक. People, 4,500 pictures I think you shoot in 2 or 3 years.
ओके. आता हा मी उल्लेख केला त्याचं कारण सांगते की फेसेस जे आहे त्याच्यामध्ये 3 पिढ्या आणि 7 दशक याच्यामधले अतिशय अप्रतिम म्हणावेत असे फोटो त्याच्यामध्ये आहेत.
She's asking me to actually mention the most outstanding faces in the 7 decades of Indian film industry. I think pictures speak better than words. So when I start my little audiovisual, I think I'll take you through a journey of many, many years with little piquant comments. There's a very sweet girl in the very first row who's sleeping. Please take her to bed. Are you sad, that tired, darling? Or am I that boring? One of the two.
बरं, आता ऍक्च्युअली ऑडिओ व्हिज्युअल आपण नंतर बघणार आहोतच, पण तत्पूर्वी एक मला महत्वाचं विचारायचं आहे की इतकी प्राइजेस आपल्याला मिळालेली आहेत. त्याच्यामध्ये विजय मल्ल्यांचं फॅशन अवॉर्ड जे आहे ते तुम्हाला मिळालेलं आहे. नंतर लाईफ टाईम अचिव्हमेंट अवॉर्ड आपल्याला मिळालेलं आहे. त्याचबरोबर महाराष्ट्र भूषण 2006 साली आपल्याला मिळालेलं आहे. पण याच्यामध्ये एक कुसुमाग्रज प्रतिष्ठानचा पुरस्कार आपल्याला मिळाला आहे. आम्हाला सगळ्यांना मनामध्ये असं कुतूहल आहे की बाकीची त्या त्या क्षेत्रातले, जाहिरातीचं क्षेत्र आहे, छायाचित्रणाचं क्षेत्र आहे, पण कुसुमाग्रजांना आम्ही जे ओळखतो म्हणजे विवा शिरवाडकर किंवा कुसुमाग्रज यांना आम्ही त्यांना लेखक, कवी, नाटककार या दृष्टिकोनातून ओळखतो. मग त्या प्रतिष्ठानचा हा जो पुरस्कार मिळाला त्याच्याबद्दलचं कुतूहल जरा स्पष्ट करून सांगितलं तर ते शमवलं जाईल.
मला वाटतं की ते सगळ्यात महत्वाचं आहे. कारण ऍडव्हर्टायझिंग क्लबमध्ये तुम्ही जर 30 वर्ष गद्यासारखं काम केलं तर कुठे ना कुठेतरी तुम्हाला मिळतंच प्राइज. किंवा फॅशनमध्ये सुद्धा तुम्ही जर आपले पिक्चर्स काढत राहिला तर कुठे ना कुठेतरी तुम्हाला तुमचं कौतुक होतच. बट कुसुमाग्रज अवॉर्ड, the Goda Puraskar, V.N. Shirvadkar, is firstly not a government award. It does not have any